Welcome to our final day through the book of Joshua. We read the last 4 chapters, which are chapters 21 to 24 today. And I want to talk to you today about parenthood and 2 particular groups whom Joshua is parting ways with because the time has come. The first, as I will read to you, are the children of Reuben, Gad, and the half tribe of Manasseh. Now that they have fulfilled their role in the military battles over this 5-year period, they are now going to return to the land which they received on the other side of the Jordan. They're going to go back home. And Joshua has some words to say to them before they go. The other group is the rest of the nation of Israel that Joshua addresses just before his death. So he's got these parting words that he says to these 2 groups as he sends them off now to live their lives without him, essentially. And let me read to you the first of those. This is to the children of Gad, Reuben, and half Manasseh. This is chapter 22, verses 5 and 6. But take careful heed to do the commandment and the law which Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you, to love the Lord your God, to walk in all his ways, to keep his commandments, to hold fast to him, and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul. So Joshua blessed them and sent them away, and they went to their tents. Now I'm going to pick this up in a second, but just notice there how Joshua is blessing them as they go. He's not angry that they're going. It's time for them to go. It's good that they now go. They have the right to exercise their freedom and go. And yet, before they go, he exhorts them in very strong language to be very careful to continue to serve the Lord after they have gone. Right, we see a similar series of statements in the last chapter 24. I'm going to read you a selection of verses, first verses 14 and 15. Now therefore, fear the Lord, serve him in sincerity and in truth, and put away the gods which your fathers served on the other side of the river and in Egypt. Serve the Lord. And if it seems evil to you to serve the Lord, choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. So Joshua let the people depart, each to his own inheritance. I'll skip down to verse 31. Israel served the Lord all the days of Joshua, and all the days of the elders who outlived Joshua, who had known all the works of the Lord which he had done for Israel. Now, I'm going to betray my period or my state of life at the moment, which is I have 3 teenage children. My eldest turns 18 in a couple of months' time. She's finishing matric. She will go into her adult life within the next few months, and certainly as she finishes matric this year. And then my other 2 teenage children are very soon going to follow suit. So and my wife and I are in this position in life now where we, after having poured ourselves into trying to be godly parents to our children, as Joshua had poured his life into trying to lead this nation of people to do what God had told them to do, take the promised land. So there comes this point in the life of your children where you must let them go. Now, of course, there are all sorts of mini moments like that as you're a parent. You know, the first time your child asks to have a sleepover, the first time your child asks to go to a party, and on we could go. There's all sorts of moments where you are allowing your kids levels of freedom that they haven't had before. And I'm asking myself, are there any lessons that I can learn as a parent from how we see Joshua handle these 2 moments that we read this morning, that I've read to you? And here's my conclusion on the matter. I think we can learn something. I think I can learn something as a father as I'm getting ready to let my children go. And the first is that I am to let them go in peace. It's good that they go. It is good that at some point your children have to go and make their own lives. Now, for those of you who are older than I am, this may not be such a sharply felt realization. I mean, you know this from your own life experience, but for those of us who've still got children at home, we're coming to the end of it. It's quite a moment where we're starting to realize, man, my kids are going to go off and make their own lives. But it's good. And we can bless them as they go. And yet, as we see with Joshua, I say to myself, I must not be afraid to have a serious, direct conversation with each of my children before giving them their freedom. And I think that's a lesson you can apply at many stages of your parenting, that there are moments when it is not only good and acceptable, but it is God's will for you to have a very direct conversation with your children about what you expect from them, what God expects from them, what God is calling them to, and what will happen to them if they turn their backs on God. And so, as God gives me grace, I will try to have that kind of very direct, honest conversation with each of my 3 children before I send them off to go and live their own lives as adults. One last time, one last conversation about what God expects from them. This is what Joshua does. And then I will be honest with them about my own commitment to the Lord. There is this aspect which we learn from Joshua that I've got to say to them, look, you are going to make your own decisions about whether you serve the Lord in your life or not. But you need to know that your mom and I are going to serve God. And if you choose not to serve Him, you need to know that that will be a departure from not only what we desire for you, but what your mother and I will continue to do in our own lives. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. You can make your own decisions, but that's what we're going to do. So I need to be open with my kids about that, and I need to model it. They need to see in me and Danielle, my wife, that whether they were here, whether they were once they're gone, we serve the Lord. We didn't only go to church because they were in our house and we wanted our children to go to church. When they're gone, they need to see mom and dad continue to go to church because they are committed to the Lord. That's the second thing I see as a lesson. And then thirdly, I need to pray for them that they will have their own encounters with God, that they will know His mighty works. That was the last verse that I read to you, where it says, Israel served the Lord all the days of Joshua and all the days of the elders who outlived Joshua, who had known all the works of the Lord which He had done for Israel. There was a group of elders in Israel who had seen Him divide the river Jordan. They had seen Him give victory over all of these nations of the earth and drive people out with hornets and cast hailstones from heaven. They had seen the mighty works of God themselves, and it was that generation that still maintained their relationship with God. They still served Him. And certainly what is being told us there is part of the reason for that was they had had a personal experience of God's mighty works. But as we know, when that generation passed away, the next generation of Israel quickly lost their faith and started worshipping idols. And we're going to see that as we go into the book of Judges. And so I must pray for my children that they will have their own encounters with God, that they will know the mighty works of God in their own lives, that they will have their own crises where they are desperate and crying out that God would deliver them. And pray that He does, and when He does, they will encounter that kind of realism of God in their own lives. So here are the 4 things that I've brought out for myself as a parent here. Firstly, it is good that these transitions happen in life, that our kids go off and make their own lives. Second of all, before they go, let me be very clear with them one last time. Have a serious, pointed conversation with them that as you go, I am exhorting you to continue serving the Lord. And this is what will happen if you don't. Thirdly, to maintain and display my own commitment to the Lord and ours as a couple, and to continue praying for them that they will have their own encounters with God through life, that they would know Him through their own experience. So God bless you. I hope the little series has been a blessing, and we'll see you again soon.